This is probably the first, would you call it a health crisis? That seems very extreme, but major health event that I've ever had to this extreme. That wasn't ideal, and it was quite scary. So a clot in my leg and multiple clots in my lungs was what they'd discovered after the time in A&E. My Harps are under their covers. They were under the covers for the 4 weeks we were in Mexico. We've been home for 10 days and they're still under their covers. So I am really missing my harping, and I'm starting to feel a little guilty about not playing the harp. Welcome to the How to Harp podcast, where your harp, your journey are always front and centre. I'm Heather Downey, harpist and founder of How to Harp, your online space for expert guidance and endless inspiration. Each week, we are here to empower, inspire and encourage you, whether you're just beginning or many years into your harp adventure. From chats with world-class professionals to real stories from everyday harpists to practical tips you can use right away. This podcast is all about helping you feel happy, confident and fulfilled with your harp. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 25 of the How to Harp podcast, which feels like we should have some kind of celebration or something, really, doesn't it? 25 feels like a special kind of milestone, but I don't know, maybe it's 50 when we should do something. Anyway, you have me all by myself today for a solo episode, and I am going to give a little tip, but I'm going to start by giving a bit of a life and health update. And then I'm going to give a tip based on, a little harping tip based on kind of some of the experience that I've had over the last little while. So for those of you who are watching using video, you'll see I'm sitting here with a crutch. For those of you who are listening, I'm sitting here with a crutch. I kind of have got, it's my security blanket right now. If I put it too far away from me, I can't reach it. If I put it on the ground and bend down, it's sore to pick it up. So let me fill you guys in, for those of you who don't know what's been happening. This is probably the first, would you call it a health crisis? That seems very extreme, but major health event that I've ever had to this extreme. So William and I we're on holiday over the Christmas break. We love to go away over Christmas because I have time off the conservatoire anyway, so it doesn't affect the students in any way, and many of you know we don't have children, and so going away at Christmas brings something different and magical into what we are doing. So we really enjoy going away at Christmas, and this year we went to Mexico and we had a lovely trip together in Mexico. Lots of stories to I could tell you about that, but a really nice trip. Now, whilst we were in Mexico, we actually had COVID, unfortunately. This kind of plays into a little bit of the story that's coming up. Or maybe it does. I don't actually know for sure if it does, but we think it might do. So we had COVID whilst we were in Mexico. And we were away for 4 weeks, which is a long time to be away. We do love experiencing things together, but I have to say 4 weeks is definitely getting to a long side for me to be away from my dogs and my family. And I was certainly very much looking forward to getting home, and especially my dogs, giving my dogs a big cuddle and giving my dogs an awesome long walk was something else that I was really looking forward to. So when we got on the plane to come home, I was really excited, really excited to be getting on the plane. So got on the plane, and it's a 10-hour flight from Mexico City to London Heathrow, where we had to change flights, but actually it wasn't a connecting flight. We had to actually take our bags off and then recheck them in for our flight up to Edinburgh, up to Scotland from Heathrow. But we gave ourselves plenty of time. I'm a bit of a stressed traveller, so we always leave lots of time. Anyway, about 7 hours into the flight from Mexico to Heathrow, I got up to have a little walk around and to go to the toilet, as I often do, try to do every couple of hours when we're flying. And my right leg kind of went almost like a kind of pinging elastic band kind of feel. And so I thought, oh, I've pulled a muscle standing up. I'll walk it off a little bit going up and down the aisles. Well, it didn't walk off. So I thought, well, I'll have a little seat and a little rest, and that'll be just fine. And to cut a bit of a long story short, it wasn't just fine. And I knew something was really, really wrong when we were about 40 minutes before landing, and they were saying, to get your stuff ready. And I stood up and reached up to get into the overhead locker. And as I reached up and stretched, another kind of elastic band moment happened, and it was incredibly painful. And I was like, yeah, there's something really wrong. And I said to Willie, something's happened, something's wrong. So I sat back down and Willie did all the stretching and the lifting and such like. We arrived in Heathrow, landed in Heathrow, and I couldn't walk. I did manage to walk. I actually eventually walked all the way to baggage reclaim, because every time we saw a member of staff, they told us to go just that little bit further. Took a long time to get there, but we got to baggage reclaim. And at baggage reclaim, I finally managed to get a member of staff who was like, sit down. We're going to get a paramedic. So, oh gosh. I mean, when you're in those situations, you do feel like, I felt at this point, I was like, oh gosh, I'm just overdoing things and I just need to rest, and then I'll be able to get on the flight home to Edinburgh. Honestly, the only thing I wanted to do was get on the flight home to Edinburgh. I just wanted to get home. But, she was like, no, you need to sit down, we need to get the paramedic. So paramedic comes on her bike after a little while, and it was at that point when she was like, tell me what's going on. I'm like, couldn't hold back the tears anymore, and I'm like, oh. Anyway, so the paramedic checked out my leg, and it was very, very swollen. And she basically said there's 3 signs to deep vein thrombosis. There's swelling of the leg, a changing of colour of the leg, and heat on the leg. And my leg didn't feel hot, didn't feel any different to my left. It certainly wasn't changing colour, but it was very, very swollen. And so she said, we can't allow you to fly. You have to go to A&E. So that was that. So off we went to A&E. And so began 2 days spent sitting around A&E, trying to get tests and things like this done, So maybe we won't go through all of those. But I knew there was something actually really wrong when I finally got an ultrasound on my leg, and I'd been hobbling around the hospital in a great deal of pain for 2 days, and after the ultrasound was finished, I went to stand up to leave the room, and she said, oh no, we need to get you a wheelchair. And I was like, oh, okay, so something's obviously really wrong if I've been able to hobble up until now, and now they're saying I have to get a wheelchair. So it turns out that I still have a clot in my right leg. And when they found that, they felt that we needed to have a CT scan as well. I didn't actually know, when you're at A&E, sometimes you don't really know why things are happening, but so I didn't know what they were giving me a CT scan for. But off I went and got my CT scan, and I discovered that it was to check if there were clots in my lungs, a pulmonary embolism, I think it's called, the PE. And there were. So that wasn't ideal. And it was quite scary. So a clot in my leg and multiple clots in my lungs was what they'd discovered after the time in A&E. And we weren't able to fly home. So this is where William is an absolute trooper, because we still just really, really wanted to get home. They were willing to discharge us from A&E in London, but it was kind of under the condition that we went and immediately sought care in Scotland, because I need to see a haematologist consultant and I need to have an echocardiogram, and I need a whole bunch of other tests and stuff like this. But we couldn't fly. BA were amazing. BA actually sent our luggage to our house. So they put our luggage on the flight the next day and delivered it to our house, which was so kind. We couldn't fly. And we decided that the best thing to do would be take a car, because everyone at the hospital was kind of being really clear that if there was any different pain or any pain in my chest, because at this point I didn't have any pain in my chest. If there was any pain in my chest, I had to get straight to a hospital. And we thought, well, if we get a train and something happens, one, it was very difficult for me to walk at that point, although they did give me my trusty crutch, but it was still extremely painful to walk. I mean, it still is, but it was worse back then. So we thought navigating through central London to then get a train and to walk onto the train and all this sort of stuff would be difficult. But if something happened during the train journey and we had to get off at the next stop and then try and get to a hospital, we thought, well, if we rent a car, we'll be able to just, if something happens, just drive straight to a hospital, come off the motorway. But I can't drive. So Willie, just now, because of my leg. So we rented a car in Heathrow, and Willie drove from Heathrow. At 4 p.m. we left Heathrow with the rental car. And we rented it for 24 hours. So I was like, no, Willie, we can stop halfway. We'll get a hotel. It won't, don't feel you have to go all the way. But I think he knew that I wanted to get home. He wanted to get home too. And we also wanted to start to get the further treatment and things that was needed. So we had to make a number of stops so I could get out and stretch and make sure my leg wasn't getting stiff. That was the doctor's orders. And our car was parked in Edinburgh Airport. So we rented the car to Edinburgh Airport. Got to Edinburgh Airport, found the car. I think it was like 3 a.m. when we got to Edinburgh. And then drove our car home. So Willie was absolutely amazing. And it was so lovely to be home. And it is so lovely to be home. I'm so glad to be home. So where we're at now is kind of not really any further forward, to be honest with you, than the day we arrived home, because it's been really difficult to progress things forward, unfortunately. I've always found moving things forward with GPs to be very difficult. My experience with NHS treatment hasn't ever been a particularly positive one. I just cracked my ankle. But hopefully soon things will be looked at, and we'll get those tests and those meetings and things like that done. So that's really where we are at as of today. And yeah, I guess that the whole Harp community has been amazing. There's been so many people who have reached out to me. I've had to really stop work. As you can see behind me, my harps, if you're watching on video, my harps are under their covers. They were under the covers for the 4 weeks we were in Mexico. We've been home for 10 days and they're still under their covers. So I am really missing my harping, and I'm starting to feel a little guilty about not playing the harp. Everyone in the How to Harp membership has been amazing, because I've had to reschedule some of those sessions and, push a few things back. So I'm very, very lucky to be surrounded by amazing people, and Tamsin Dearnley has very, very kindly stepped in 3 weeks before. She's the visiting tutor at the Conservatoire, at my position at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. Tamsin is our visiting tutor this year, so she was due to come in and teach the students in 3 weeks. She's very, very kindly come in 3 weeks early, and she's covering my kind of sick line for 3 weeks, and then she's scheduled to work with the students anyway. So that's amazing. So everything's sorted out, everything's taken care of, and I'm now resting, which I can tell you is very difficult for me. I find it very difficult to just sit around and rest. I find it very difficult to watch. My mum comes every day to walk the Shelties in the morning, and William walks all 3 of the dogs in the afternoon. And watching Mum leave with them, or William leave with them, and me sitting there in what we call the old man chair, which is an electronic recliner, which has now become Heather's chair. So the old man chair is now officially mine in the front room. I find that very difficult. I'd like to be outside. But I'm being very sensible. Lots of people have got in touch with me and said, listen to the doctor, look after yourself. So I'm being very sensible. And I'm taking lots of rest. But what I wanted to say about all of this was two things, really. I just mentioned that I'm starting to feel quite guilty about not playing my harp. And I think the first thing I want to say about this is that I shouldn't feel guilty. And so I know that if there's anyone out there who's had this experience, who's been like, you know, a spanner's been thrown in the works, you know, all the plans that we had for the start of 2026 and for January have kind of been just blown away by all of this. And I know that lots of people have had the same experience, like all these best laid plans of mice and men just have to get kind of pushed to the wayside. And I think it can be really easy to feel guilty about not being on plan, or not playing your harp is what I'm feeling really guilty about, and not providing in the same way that's normal. But it's really important that you listen to your body and you listen to your mind and take care of yourself, as hard as it might be. And I don't think that you should tell yourself don't feel guilty. I don't think ever kind of telling yourself that feeling is wrong or you shouldn't feel that way is necessarily healthy or helpful. So I think I'm saying to myself, okay, it's all right to feel guilty or sad that you can't play right now or be struggling with that, but know that the harp's going to be there when the time is right. You can listen to music, although I do find that quite difficult because I can't play, but I know my harps will be there, and it's okay to take a rest. Sometimes we have to take a rest, listen to our bodies, and do what's actually right for us, for you, for me, at that time. And that's really important. And it's okay to feel strange about that, to feel guilty about that. Those are normal feelings. And just be like, okay, yeah, I feel that way, and that's all right. But right now it's not time for that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, Angela and I are actually doing a goal setting session on Monday. So I'm doing little bits. If I did absolutely nothing, I think I would literally go mad. So Angela and I are doing a goal setting session together. So you've got that support there on Monday. So if you're listening to this later on, it will have happened. But the point is that we were meeting and we were chatting about how we wanted to approach this and such like. And we're going to talk about this a lot in the goal setting session for members, but this is a little special tip I'm going to share with everybody out there. And that is what's one little thing that you can do now, today, to move yourself that little bit forward. And thinking like that over the last few days or the last week since I've got home, that's what I've done each day. And that's been really, really positive. And no, I haven't played my harp yet. But I have gotten myself, with the help of William, gotten us home. So getting us from Heathrow to Scotland, that was something that we could do. And obviously now it's, can you just, stand up? A big thing for me was 2 days ago. Up until 2 days ago, I was using my crutch in the wrong hand. You're meant to use it in the hand that's opposite from your injured leg. But my leg was so painful that I couldn't use it in that way. I had to use it in the same arm as my injured leg because I couldn't put any weight on that leg. But 2 days ago, I was like, I think I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to try my crutch in this hand. And I could do it. So I knew that I was making that little step forward. And the last couple of days, it's been, as I've been walking, and not pushing myself, just testing the waters. But at first, I could put my sore leg out like a little bit and then bring my good leg to match it. And the last few days, it's been, well, can I move my good leg just a little past it, which obviously puts a little bit more weight on that that leg, not pushing it before anyone emails me and says, Heather, don't go too fast, not pushing it, I promise. But just that little bit. And so on the first day, I think I managed to get it like an inch further than my sore leg, and today 2 inches. And these are little things that I'm doing that can get me towards, I guess, my new goal, which is to get better, but also to get me back to playing on the harp. And so being able to move a little bit more each day makes me feel that little bit more close to playing the harp. And it's that little tiny movement towards, and each day it adds up just that little bit. Yes, I want to get my hands on the strings. Yes, I want to actually play, but my energy is very low, and I need to be realistic about what that looks like. And so these little kind of increases in my energy each day are helping me get towards that. And my next little step, probably tomorrow, I was going to say tonight, but I think tomorrow, is going to be to take the cover off of my harp. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself to play or pluck the strings or tune or anything like that. Just my little goal is going to be to come in and take the cover off the harp. And so what I want you to leave you with is, what's the one little thing that can get you just that little bit closer to what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be something that you like. I don't have to sit down today and do 40 minutes practice, or I don't have to sit down today and record the next videos for the How to Harp membership. Those are things that are on my mind and I want to do in the future, but what can I do today that gets me just that little bit closer to being able to do that? Whether that be just being able to stand up out the chair, being able to sit on the harp stool. I'm not sitting on the normal harp stool right now. These little things. And tomorrow for me, it's going to be taking the cover off of my harp. So what can you do today to get you just that little bit closer to that goal that you have? Well, thank you all so much for listening and being with me. It was a bit of a kind of self-indulgent podcast there when I shared with you guys everything that's going on with me, but I hope something in that helped you or resonated with some of you out there and made you think about what that little step is for you. Now, next week you have me again, but I will be here for a question and answer. So if any of you have got any questions for me that you would like to send in, please email those questions in. You can email them to hello@howtoharp.com, or you can write to us in the community, or you can DM us on social media. You can comment underneath this podcast. All of these ways, get your questions into us and I will be answering them for you next week in our bonus Q&A, since January has 5 weeks in it. I do love our Q&A, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, if you have enjoyed this episode or any of our previous episodes, please do subscribe to the podcast and share it anywhere you think you might find other people who also enjoy the podcast like you. And I'll look forward to answering all your questions next week.